Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 12, the history of the SEGA Megadrive. With me, George, and as always joined by Tom. Blast process to my food process. How's it going?
Hey, I'm all right. It's been a good week. We're here at episode 12 and we're just cracking on and we're getting loads more feedback and loads more listens, so we're just chuffed. Very happy.
As ever, every week that number goes up. Last week it was
absolutely.
Last week it was 11. Couldn't believe we were here. Now it's 12. Can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're here.
You're always keeping me updated as well, so the excitement is always teetering on the edge.
Ever living fearfully of the Federation Against Copyright Theft coming down on us like a ton of bricks. Tom, before we launch through into what's going to be the feature-packed history of the SEGA Megadrive, we'll let the newly acquired listeners that we've picked up yet again. We keep having these wave of listeners, and we thank you all for listening, old and new. But just a little recap, because we had the E3 debrief last week, which was a little bit...
Slightly different format.
Different format to usual. So we're going to ask each other in a moment what we've been playing. Then we're going to launch into the news, where we've scoured the darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest. That's you, listener. No, not you. You. Yes, specifically you. The latest stories. Then we go into the feature, which we've mentioned is the history of the SEGA Megadrive. And through the medium of the Burgundy MG Maestro Turbo, we shall head backwards in time and get you the story of the Megadrive. We then, I think, limp into what's affectionately known as Listener's Stingray.
Yeah, Stingrays, hashtag Stingrays boot.
Hashtag Stingrays boot.
So get those phones ready for that.
Little bit early, but, you know, they're going to pick them up now and hold them for nearly an hour. And then once we've done Listener's Stingray, we get the immortal Stingray himself to turn up.
With all those luscious new releases.
Luscious, new, bountiful releases.
And maybe a VHS for the weekend.
Got to have that VHS, Tom.
You have, yeah.
And then from there, we ask each other what we're hoping to play, and then we bid you listeners farewell. You're probably thankful, and we're just literally desperate to re-record, give you another great show. Tom, with all that said and done, as always, I look around on the keychain, Tom. There's a key here called What You've Been Playing. In and turned. What you been playing?
Well, after last week's E3, I have sort of got a bit more love for the Switch, thanks to the Nintendo sort of knockout presentation they did.
Oh, so you dusted it off?
Yeah. Obviously, we saw the Breath of the Wild sequel footage, so I've dug out Breath of the Wild and sort of got on my old save file and moseyed around, absorbed the Hyrule.
Oh dear. Have you turned the screen down, play it only in the
300 hours and counting.
Oh, dear, you need a new game.
I remember you telling me that a long time ago. Delve back on Mario Odyssey. Just the big hitters of the Switch. Just reliving a few of those.
Just make sure it worked.
Yeah, make sure it worked.
Turned on, buttons worked.
Yeah. Make sure the dust eroded the Joy-Cons.
So it's working fine and dandy.
Oh, it is. And I'm looking forward to probably getting a few new titles for that soon. What about you?
That's a very short one from you, Tom. No doubt.
Yeah,
There's no Overwatch been played. No.
Oh, of course, but
Red Dead Redemption
2. You know the list.
God of War.
The long-term listeners know the list. God of War, Red Dead 2, Overwatch. They get mentioned every week. We feel like we just have to put them in now. But
well, as we've
gone on for too long.
As always, we play Unofficial Controller Bingo, Tom. The listeners can stand by.
It'd make a good drinking game, really, wouldn't it? For the adults, for the PG podcast.
Yeah, or if the kids want to just maybe down shots of neat soda stream syrup, give them a sugar rush.
Absolutely.
Similar vibe. I've been playing Days Gone, so as Unofficial Controller Bingo goes, there you go. I guess Rad Bash Gaming just stood up and shouted bingo. Other listeners are available. I've been playing Days Gone, as I say, and really enjoying it. As you've told me, you finished it because you're the bigger boy on this game.
I am.
I'm now in the last third of the game.
Doing my best not to spoil it for you as well.
Thank you, although
You've gone and read yourself a few.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, I'm not on purpose. I mean, working with the social
It happens
media
a
for
lot
the
nowadays,
podcast,
doesn't it? With
does.
modern games because of the media coverage and stuff. So
Yeah, someone was very proud they'd finished the game and displayed the whole end screen slap bang, and I'm one of those
Well
people.
done.
When I
Thumbs
see
up.
something, I read it, and then as I'm reading it, I'm like, I shouldn't be reading this.
Yeah.
And it was therefore inevitably ruined. But I'm not bothered because the journey is better than the destination, Tom.
As is often so.
And the journey of what we've been playing probably wasn't that great, but the destination, the news, is certainly a wonderful place to be. We've scoured the very darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, in this Megadrive themed episode, it's poignant that we hit off with the new Megadrive game news. Now, Tom, can you believe that there's a new Megadrive game? Bitmap Bureau
I was shocked.
have been working on Xenocrisis. It's a fusion of Smash TV and other great top-down retro shooters with a little pinch of aliens. Do that little pinch there, Tom. See what I'm doing?
Pinch of the salt.
Salt pinch. This is looking fantastic, and it's also coming to all the modern consoles: Neo Geo, Dreamcast, and a console no one's ever heard of called the Switch. Stay tuned to us for a definitive release date.
Interesting one, that, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. Again,
It looks quite cool. The idea sounds good as well.
very excited that we've got talk of a new Mega Drive title in the retrospective.
It's slotted in quite well this week as well, hasn't
I think
it?
Bitmap Bureau were sort of thinking when would be a good time.
And they looked at the unofficial control and saw we had a
They
Mega
just
Drive
knew.
feature, and hey presto, there
Let's
it is.
drop Xenocrisis on them like an atomic bomb. Tom?
I'll lead in with this.
Oh, he wants this, does he?
On the point of me being very excited about Nintendo's E3 presentation, you show me the love, I'll keep coming. Seems Nintendo did well at this year's E3. Okay, Keanu Reeves' inclusion in Cyberpunk 2077 was incredible, but ICO Partners, a market intelligence company from the UK, they've crunched the numbers, and it seems that Nintendo E3 presence at E3 has consistently grown year on year, with this year being their biggest. But have they blown too soon? Will the Zelda title have the power to steal the show from the inevitable PS5 and Xbox Next reveals next year?
Is a sequel to, I mean, let's face it, a great game, Breath of the Wild, enough to make Sony and Microsoft a little bit nervous? Or
It depends if it depends if next year they come with actual gameplay. If they do another Razzmatazz CGI trailers and then Nintendo rock up with like, here's our game, you can play it on the show floor, and then I think it'll.
I think, though, we are going to see real gameplay. We're going to see real consoles. We're going to see real games.
They need to, don't
Here's
they?
a slice of reality for you, Tom. That's what's coming. Have Nintendo got enough in the bag to secure themselves a decent show at E3 next year?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think they need hardware announcement this time next year?
In a little bit of flash news, Metroid Prime 4 is currently hiring a art director, which, as many sort of fans might think, that's early stages of the game's development, so we might not even see that at E3 next year.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd slot that in there for any Metroid
Art's
fans.
being quite a big...
Yeah, it's like
drive
early stages,
in the
isn't it?
game,
It's
isn't
like
it? Yeah.
it's almost planning the art direction of it. But
I'll
you
take-
lead us in with the
Yes.
next one.
Car, here boy, good boy. CD Projekt Red have confirmed that Red Dead style your car will be summonable in the upcoming Cyberpunk 27, which must come as a relief for Red Dead players reverting to GTA 5. This is going to be part of the futuristic AI system on the car, and not unlike the cool car feature in modern Teslas, we're getting more and more excited for this game, and the cool car feature is one that makes us feel happy, Tom. Come out of a building, we don't need to worry where we've parked. We whistle old car over, and here it comes.
Good old kit. I mean, that's a good idea, isn't it? It's going to make things easier for getting around
Not
this
only does
massive
it play
city.
into the narrative quite well,
Yeah.
it keeps the gameplay moving in a positive
Yeah.
direction. Because, bam, car's there, you call it. Wherever you are, you can get the car to you.
So, obviously, CD Projekt Red have said, like, this AI system is on the car and the bikes.
That is cool.
But I did hear they also said there's going to be boats and flying cars, but both of those are going to be to do with the story. you're going to be in them as a passenger but not able to drive them.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think it just helps add that immersion.
I mean, maybe
being in a futuristic city.
See the planes and boats more as like the taxis or the train network in any other sort of open.
Maybe a Back to the Future style thing of where Doc Brown's flying Martian, and he's like, "Are we flying?" And he's like, "Yeah." And that'd be cool in the flying
Again,
car.
Tom, as always, you sound absolutely blindingly excited by the upcoming game. I'm going to take this one as well.
Go for it.
In fact, I tell you what, this first bit's an Ian McCallum line, so maybe you should read that, being his stunt double and all, and I'll read the news.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Or not, as Ellie actress Ashley. And then, guys, let's just wonder there, that was Tom. That wasn't Sir Ian. Ellie actress Ashley Johnson, during an episode of Critical Role, the D&D podcast, if you haven't heard it, you should check it out. She seemingly said that the new game will be coming fair. Well, there's only 1 month begin with an F. Some news outlets say internally Sony switched Last of Us 2 for Death Stranding, which was seemingly due after Last of Us. So we have the confirmed Death Stranding in November, and apparently, Tom, looks like we're going to get Last of Us 2 February 2020. 2020.
Yeah. That would kind of make sense with the Death Stranding release in November to sort of see him through the busy Christmas period and then have another big release, bang, February. Rumours are circulating that it might be Valentine's Day as well. 14th of February.
Fall in love with Last of Us 2 all over again.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, for our last bit of news, and we have no sponsor this week, begrudgingly, Tom's forced some more Overwatch news onto the news segment, Tom. So please, while me and some of the other listeners pull up a duvet, plump our pillows, everyone who's still awake, going to find out about this Overwatch news, Tom.
It's your favourite guy again, the Haitian, Baptiste.
The only man I know.
It's called the Reunion Challenge, and it's available from June 18th to July the 1st. You can play and watch and earn. So you complete 9 competitive matches or quick play matches, and you can earn a new Baptiste skin. So I'm definitely going to be trying to achieve that. Even though I don't play a healer, I still want the skin, as always. So yeah, a little bit of multi-format news there for you, for everyone who owns Overwatch.
Most of the long-term listeners there have heard Tom, the most animated he's been in all 12 episodes for the last 30 seconds. Finally sounded like he'd come alive with that little bit of Overwatch news. I'm sure for all the listeners out there that are big into team,
you could be the healer on my team.
Every week. Let it go. Game's dead. No one plays it anymore. Tom, if people wanted to get in touch to explain to me how much they still love Overwatch and how much Baptiste is still relevant in this game, tell me, how would they do that?
Of course, they can reach us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com, or as most of you do, direct messages on Instagram or Twitter. And don't forget the hashtag Stingrays boot if you want to be involved in that as well.
Fantastic. Well, Tom, we've limped rather unsuccessfully to the meat of the show, the feature, the SEGA Megadrive feature. This week's feature is a discussion around the SEGA Megadrive. As always, you guys got in touch to share those treasured memories of Sega's 16-bit Jim.
Pokemon!
No, leave it in.
Pokemon Jim.
We'll start that again though, listeners, because it's special, and we want this to be special. This week's feature is a discussion around the Sega Megadrive. And as always, you guys got in touch to share those treasured memories of Sega's 16-bit gem. And we're including those to add a real personal touch to this story. Tom, the emotions are getting to me. They're running high in the bunker today. And it's now that we need to think about how we're going to make this feature come together. We need to time travel. So if you could get round the back of the chair, Tom.
Okay.
Let's make our way to the lift. Push.
I'm a pushing.
And as we push forward to the lift area, Tom, watch my leg on the door.
Yeah, we'll just keep
Tom,
it tucked in.
Just be careful, will you? Because it hurts. Okay, Tom, if you could press the button.
I will.
We're on our way. Tom, lift music's fixed.
Of course. You know Jeff the electrician?
Oh, that dodgy-looking character. He's not been around
Yeah.
Mumsy again, has he?
Yeah, well, yeah, don't tell old Lord.
Lord Ponsonby.
Yeah. I mean, he claims he's corgi registered, but I just heard he walked the Queen's dogs once.
Well, and with that rather duff joke, we land here at floor punchline. The door is open, Tom. Wheel me out. We've dropped down 2 floors to where Stingray keeps his ex-car hidden. That's all a little bit woolly since we came up with Trace Ray, but don't worry about it. He's got more girls in pubs in villages around the area than a salty sea dog has got women in ports. Look at her there, Tom. Resplendent in her burgundy glory. Look at those neon green racing stripes. Tom, have you added an unofficial controller bumper sticker, or has it always been there?
Well, we've recently got some of those made up, and we're hopefully going to be, maybe dish some out to the OG fans out there.
Once again, Tom's writing checks. His wallet can't cash. Now, amongst those modifications that Tom's tastefully added, the neon stripes and the shockingly pink unofficial controller sticker to the
I'm
bumper.
all about the looks, mate.
Well, there's
You do the tech, I make it look good.
I don't even do the tech. And you certainly haven't made this Burgundy MG Maestro Turbo look any better. So we're both out of a job. And as far as podcasting goes, Tom, we've already reached the highest heights we're probably ever going to reach.
Who knows?
Mediocrity is a great feeling. As I was trying to say, amongst those modifications we've rather clumsily added, there's also some time travel circuits. So let's take a seat in the back of the Maestro Turbo, take a sip on the out-of-date Coke on the floor, and Tom, hit the blast process button and let's go.
What's blast processing?
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? And what if you don't have blast processing?
Whoa!
Now, Tom,
Wow.
if you can hold the sick in your mouth for just a little bit longer.
I'm about to see that Coke again.
Here we are, listeners. 1980s Japan, 29th of October 1988. To be precise, it's launch day, here in the land of the rising sun.
Before we go into the console, as always, let's take a look at its development up to this point. So the video game crash had happened, and console gaming was now firmly associated with Nintendo, pitching their console just right to snare an audience that was there but just waiting for the hardware to catch up. Sega caught on, the market looked buoyant again, and released 2 consoles, attempts to break the market dominant of Nintendo. The SG-1000 and the more fondly remembered Master System. Though both solid consoles, they failed to break the Nintendo stranglehold. Though the Master System did see great success in Europe and South America is still a staunch Sega territory. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Very much so, yeah. I don't know why or how. I think they had a third-party licensing agreement where a company in South America, Brazil most notably, built the Sega consoles under license. Like the Master System is still a big console over there.
Wow.
And when you get to be a bigger boy, you get the Megadrive. I think they're still releasing sort of third-party-ish games over there, sort of Brazil-centric games around little things that they've got associated in their culture. But
I'm sure we'll see
thought?
Xenocrisis over there.
Tell you what, if the bigger boys were looking for a big hit title coming out, I mean, Brazil just got its eyes open, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, we've got to remember, let's have a little fond dig into our memories. Do you remember the Master System? One of our cousins had a Master System, if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember it briefly. I remember the cartridges were really... It sounds bad, they look ugly. They had like that sort of brick pattern on the top.
Well, some people like that, but obviously...
I suppose it is very retro and sort of distinctive.
Now, the Master System...
I don't have...
It was... Obviously, the Master System was an 8-bit machine. The NES was an 8-bit machine.
Yeah.
But the Master System was significantly more powerful than that, but it just I think it just came at the wrong time. The NES already had a massive installed user base.
Yes.
In the UK, the Master System did well here and in larger Europe continent. It saw some good success, but in America it just couldn't break that deadlock of the NES.
Yeah.
So Sega needed something different. They needed to move quick and go for a 16-bit machine. Now, Tom, we all know about Sega and their arcade history, but it was here that they looked to work on that, take some of those boards they developed, and starting with their 16-bit arcade boards, Sega started to experiment, adding in a Motorola 6800 and a chip from Yamaha for the Mega Drive's awesome sound, that dirty grunge that, while less orchestral than the SNES, it excelled with the kick-ass 90s rock that those games came out with. That sort of dirty
guitar riffs
sound.
and yeah.
When the SNES was on form, its music was just, it was very, very nice. It was orchestral. It was all those Nintendo noises that you like to hear. But over on the bigger boys console, on the Mega Drive, it was all hard thrash rock and Nirvana-inspired riffs.
Yeah.
And that that distorted vibe actually played into that Yamaha sound chip, which just sort of added.
I mean, you look at 16-bit soundtracks as well from both consoles, and they're really popular now. Like there's many YouTube sort of playlists out there of
Tom,
a very popular era for
some third-rate hokey cokey podcasts play themselves out and in with a 16-bit medley.
Yeah, those guys.
Dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Dime a dozen. So that was the console was being formed there at Sega HQ. A little bit of arcade, a little bit of Master System, a little bit of something special from Yamaha to get the sounds going. But the console needed a name. In Japan and other territories, the new machine would be called the Mega Drive to show its superiority to the Master System, but also showcase their 16-bit console's power. Now, Tom, our American cousins, unfortunately, the name Mega Drive was already in use in America by a tech firm, so it was decided to name the machine Genesis, a way to show powerful new beginnings, and listeners, they sure did that. Funny for America
That's a good fact there.
Come up with a biblical reference.
Yeah, that's
with
cool.
the Genesis. You ever any thoughts on the Genesis Mega Drive name parody, Tom?
Well, as a young boy, I did find it strange that it was called something different in another country, and there'd be like this. You sort of. We had an American lad at school, and he would be like, did you have a Genesis? And you'd be like, what? What are you talking about?
Oh, right,
Mega Drive.
okay.
Yeah, I had one of those. So yeah, that's a nice little fact there for the listeners. Let's just take a listen to Retro Gamer Thomas. He's chimed in. Good bit of feedback.
Where's Retro Gamer Thomas from?
Is he from America?
Well, I was thinking that he's from Instagram.
Yes.
He is from Instagram. Tom, what has he got to say to us?
Well, the Mega Drive, he says, the Mega Drive is one of my all-time favourite consoles and one I love collecting for today. There's a lot of collectors out there, definitely, for the Mega Drive. We've had some great feedback. He goes on to say, I remember hardly having any games back in the day as I couldn't afford them. Have around 120 games now. Wow. I don't even think you can beat the video-like cases and artwork, plus the best startup screen ever. Sega.
Nice work there, Tom. Brought in your method acting.
He's made some good points. Those cases and artwork.
Let's talk about
they're
that.
Very like, almost like VHS, like that little clip shot.
What I like about the case for the Mega Drive, if you got a SNES or NES game back in the day,
cardboard.
If your cousin got a little bit excited and he sat on the box, it was ruined. It would blow out.
Yeah.
The art would rip. The
Yeah.
whole inside case would flatten. Sega were really thinking there that it was a hard clamshell sealed case
Yeah.
that protected the cart inside.
A cart clipped in as well.
It hold it steady, so there was no chance of it getting damaged. The manual tucked away, keeping the cart in pristine condition. That's one of the best things about collecting for the Mega Drive, because if you go for the boxed one, very rare, I mean, sometimes you get fade and rip damage to the sleeve. 9 times out of 10, you've got a pretty good game condition there. If you want to go for hang tabs, if you're a collector, you might want them all to have hang tabs.
I mean, yeah. another cool feature, like just yet again Sega doing stuff that was then not replicated with the PlayStation like shatter cases and the N64 more cardboard again. We all know they love Labo, so early days.
They were thinking recycling, and Sega were a little bit like the antithesis of Captain Planet. They were going to make it out of plastic. It's going to last forever.
Good point. So yeah,
and as you make a solid point, Nintendo love a bit of cardboard.
One of his other points about the cost of not being able to afford them back in the day. Again, we talk about DLC and season passes and the cost of gaming. Back in the day, cartridges were expensive. Probably £60. Is that about right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, and I think there were some games. I think one of the listeners makes reference to it. Virtua Racing on the Megadrive was a whole bespoke cartridge to make space for the FX equivalent chip that was in there, and that was like, I think, £120.
Oh wow!
120.
Yeah.
Think of paying that for a game today.
It would be outrage, wouldn't it? Over
especially
sort of social
when
media
like, technically
and
only one level in it. 2 usable cars, and that's it.
Well, thanks for that, Retro Gamer Thomas. Always good to hear from you. So back to it. Launch day on this crisp autumnal Saturday. We're down the local gaming area in Japan, and we're picking one up with its launch titles Space Harrier 2 and Super Thunderblade. Two pretty cool games that actually showcase the console's power.
Good job we got here early, Tom, because Sega have gone on, or will go on to sell 50,000 consoles and completely sell out in the 2 days. Now that is a good effort, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, 50,000 consoles on launch, like to have ready at launch now probably doesn't seem that much. If you were like a Microsoft or PlayStation, I think you'd...
The market was different then.
Yeah, it was a lot more niche back then. I mean, gaming is mainstream now.
Well, think about this. Massive. If you were on a job with Stingray and he had a warehouse of 50,000 things in it and you got them shifted in 2 days, you'd be pretty happy with yourself.
I'd be getting promotion, I think.
You'd become Stingray.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's how...
Evolved.
Well, maybe you're not born. Maybe you just evolve. Stuck in the Past Lane, a listener on Insta, is a fan of Sega Arcade and especially Outrun. Let's hear his memories. Initially, I bought a Master System for the fact I could play Outrun at home and loved it. Then the Mega Drive came along and the Outrun on there blew me away. It's still played alongside the Saturn version to this day in my original, and I presume he means his Survivor console from his childhood. Aside from that, Sonic was a showpiece. Street Fighter 2 cost me a lot in trade-ins, but it's not as much as Virtua Racing, which we referred to there. Streets of Rage filled in where I had a hole of Double Dragon-sized hole in my life. He refers to Flashback as a stunning game and one of the last games he purchased for the system until the bargain buckets at Game Station tempted me back with their 50p deals. As for the Mega Drive Mini, he goes on to say, of course I'll get one. Well, Stuck in the Past Lane, always involved on the Insta pages and stuff.
Yeah.
Chimes in with some real good stuff there. Mentions that Virtua Racing game that cost him King's ransom in trade-ins and pocket money.
So
Streets of Rage.
Double Dragon was not available on the Mega Drive then, was it a SNES?
Something tells me it was, but obviously I think there's Double Dragon and Final Fight. Probably he's getting the two confused.
Yeah.
And that was what was lacking on the system. Streets of Rage definitely filled that hole. In fact, it's probably one of the go-to brawlers. It's got no sort of pedigree from the arcade, so to speak, but it's certainly got Sega pedigree.
Yeah.
That's a very good series. And one that's, in light of the new news, we're meant to be getting Streets of Rage 4, are we not, Tom?
We are. Yeah. It's there's still no confirmed release date. There's been sort of off-screen gameplay captured at various gaming shows and press events and stuff. It's looking good. Originally, I wasn't sure on the art style, but I think it'll grow on me.
I'm still not sold on it.
It looks like there's going to be a couple of other characters in. They kind of teased at the end of the last trailer that there was like a silhouette of the two new characters behind them. So, yeah, a bit of news for Streets of Rage 4. I think we'd both pick that up. Maybe play it in co-op. I'll be down for that.
Begrudgingly, I kind of want the art style to be 16-bit personally, but I'll play this.
Yeah, I wonder whether, because there's been a lot of like these sort of emulators and stuff where people have modded and made their own Streets of Rage 4 and I think even 5 possibly are out there. Maybe they thought, right, clean cut, let's do something for the modern day. I don't know. We'll see whether it works.
I'd like to see a really good Streets of Rage game.
It's cool to see those sprites, isn't it? And that those little details.
Kind of
Imagine how good it would look now
with the animations and everything.
Well, going back to just discussing 16-bit sprites and graphics, I picked up Owl Boy on the Switch, and it's got that 16-bit art style.
Yeah.
It looks really good. I think it'd be great to see some more titles like that.
Okay, well, back to the launches, Tom. The launch went equally as well in the USA on the 14th of August 1989, before landing on the shores of Europe in early 1990, and the UK had to wait until September the 14th, 1990, Tom.
Yeah,
Last
long wait.
but not least.
As always. Things were going well. The console was selling well worldwide, and the older Nintendo machine was not looking anywhere near as edgy as the Sega system, with its plethora of big-name sport franchises, big arcade ports and Sega exclusives.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
Yeah, big sports franchises. I remember it had a lot of the big American, like NFL, the hockey, NHL.
Yeah.
Remember spending many hours at a friend's house on the hockey game. I can't remember specifically
NHL
which
94.
It must have been something like that, yeah. So I think that sports franchises today are still powerhouses with selling consoles, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they were the first sort of era. They had the boxing franchise that they tied in, and we got Madden, and we got NHL, and we got Wayne Gretzky. I mean, all the names.
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus Golf. And big arcade ports as well. So we got Altered Beast. And some would argue that's not that great in retrospect.
Yeah.
Outrun, Space Harrier, Afterburner. We got
Sonic.
Yeah. Well, that's not an arcade port, but Sega
Sorry,
exclusives.
I thought you were on exclusives.
Streets of Rage.
Yeah. I mean, you imagine, like, I didn't really spend much time down arcades. I used to go there when we went to the seaside or something. But
they'd unfortunately died, but they were just surviving when I was getting into my teen years, and then they just died.
Yeah.
And as you said,
and I think, obviously, like, people were like, well, I can play this at home now.
Pretty much.
Arcade perfect, almost. And
Ish.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I mean, that's great, isn't it? To have that available at home.
Yeah. And I think that the Mega Drive, more than a lot of consoles, it had. You would often find. Now, let's take a little walk down retrospective road here. I never had a Mega Drive as a kid.
No, you were a big Nintendo man, weren't you?
I was Mr. Ninty, and I wanted a Mega Drive, but my parents had the foresight, I don't know, or not, to get me a Super Nintendo.
How the turntables have turned.
Well, you know, how the turntables have turned.
Michael Scott reference.
But looking back, as an older guy with some disposable income, I wanted in on the bigger boys console. All those times I'd gone to bigger boys' houses and they'd been playing Mega Drive, Road Rash, all the I was like, oh my goodness.
There's a guy with a chain and he's hitting another guy on a motorbike.
Like nothing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, and although some of the games were available on the SNES, like Alien 3, it felt edgier, it felt grungier, and it felt like it was first on the Sega. All the bigger boys had it. There was the talk of the Mega CD. At the time when the Mega Drive was really in its prime, I had the Atari ST, so I wasn't even in the SNES gang. I had to wait right until the end, and I think in 1993 or 1994 I got my SNES. So you can see how long I waited to get in on the 16-bit consoles. And with the Atari ST, I sat, and every TV show that was on at the time that was about gaming had tips for console games, like they were giving the Sonic tips and everything like that. There was nothing for the home computer market. The Atari, much like a PC gamer when listening to our show probably sits bored tapping on the keyboard until the new releases. Then there's like one title that they think they might have a go on Steam, and they're like, oh, I know how he feels. So we can empathise.
Yes.
But to that end, really was a very cool console to own. As an adult, I've gone and bought Mega CD 32X, a bootload of games, much like Retro Gamer Thomas with his 120 there. I've probably got a similar number to that. Probably not as many, but I've tried to pick the games that I really that were super cool in 90s, like Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, got to get the Sonics, all that sort of cool stuff.
So on that point of you having one now, and Retro Gamer Thomas's comment about looking forward to the Mini and he's probably going to get one.
Yeah.
Will you be picking up a Mega Drive Mini?
I've got a lot of the games already.
I think it's around $69.99, isn't it?
But it
£70.
does look quite cool, and it does solve the whole RGB SCART issue with a modern TV.
Imagine if we tell people where we are right now, back in time, in Japan, say, Megadrive Mini.
Don't say it too loud.
Oh, we won't. Whisper it.
Get us arrested.
Megadrive Mini.
Yeah.
Is £70, and you're going to be paying £120 for virtual racing. That's where the future's heading, my friend. Yeah. It would blow minds. We best not say it too loud.
Well, Tom, my mind's still located firmly within my cranium. I'm from the future, though, so unlike these Japanese friends of ours here, you're right, it could blow their minds. It's doubtful, because you don't speak the language. Thankfully, that's going to get us out of a lot of holes.
And I don't think they're believers.
But with all that talk aside, Tom, as good as Sega were having it, they still needed something to push them over the edge. Despite earlier attempts at a mascot, Sega still didn't have one that shifted systems. That was until sourced from an internal Sega Japan competition, Mr. Needlemouse arrives. Or as we know him by a slightly more popular name, Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, this character frustrated the living daylights out of Sega of America, who were completely perplexed, thought it very Japanese and had no idea even what a hedgehog was. Sonic Team was formed and Yuji Naka was immortalised along with his creation. America, though, Tom, they recognised the system seller. Sonic was sold as a packing title in America, which, as you can imagine, Sega Japan resisted initially because you're taking our new darling that we've just spent millions on and you're going to give it away. But they eased off and the plan shifted loads of systems. And now it's like because the packing originally, Tom, was Altered Beast.
Really?
Yes. I mean, they might as well have sold you a rubber kosh to smash yourself over the head with 15 times.
I mean,
Altered Beast versus Sonic as a first intro to the console. Yeah. Sonic's a great
no-brainer,
idea.
Isn't it?
Absolute no-brainer. I can see Japan being a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Like, well, wait, hang on a minute, think of a big game, Gears 5, you're giving away that for free?
No, is it just
with the console?
Yeah.
Are you insane?
Absolutely.
You heard it here first, Tom. Shocker. Tom claims he's insane.
Just going back to your point about the Mr. Needlemouse and his Japanese, that's sort of where he's come from and worried about will it work. To me, he looks more American, like US animated design.
Yeah,
really.
definitely.
If you look at him,
well, they were trying
doesn't look very anime, does he? Or
Mr. Needlemouse, they wanted to give him like a cool, edgy look, and that's why they gave him the trainers. That I think they were inspired by the trainers that Michael Jackson.
Nike obviously
album.
Being very getting massive in the 90s,
and he was a very at the time 90s was all about tood and saying all those sort of surfer skater words and all that sort of stuff, radical and all that. And Sonic came at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Genius marketing, really.
Perfect marketing.
So, going back to that, Davey Bones, a listener on Insta, he's chimed in here, just like you can. My favourite games are Sonic and Knuckles, Locked On.
Oh, yes. You can't... He's locking on with that. The lock-on console cartridge technology that allowed the Sonic and Knuckles to lock on to the other consoles. Because Sonic... We're getting ahead of ourselves here because we haven't even discussed Sonic 2, but Sonic 3 came out, but it was only half a game.
I remember
the game was too big to fit on one cart without it being ridiculous money. So they cut it in half and sold the first half of Sonic 3, and then they sold the lock-on tech, which was the rest of the game. But as a sweetener, that cartridge could allow you to put characters from 3 into Sonic 2 and possibly even Sonic 1 from memory. So you could lock on any Sonic game with that connector, the Sonic and Knuckles cart, and you could move your characters around and ultimately play through all of the games.
Yeah.
Very cool. And it's that kind of crazy tech that we don't see these days.
No, we certainly don't.
Tell me who else has got in touch, Tom.
We're going to try and say this one correctly because we love trying to get the Insta names right. Tommy Thompson or Tommy Thompson, you let us know. A long-time listener.
I've got a real good feeling that's probably just Tommy Thompson.
Yeah? See what's happened there.
Yeah.
So Tommy Thompson, a long-time listener, we haven't heard from in a while, got back in touch to say, I remember being very young and playing on my brothers as a kid. Good old Sonic. I couldn't even get past the first level. I was young though. He goes on to say,
I think we've both been there.
I broke
Sonic-
out that up, down, left, right, A start cheat many times. I mean, it's a solid game.
Unbelievable.
The only time I've got close to the end was the 3DS re-releases, Sonic in 3D, which was real cool. And the biggest difference there, save, the ability to save.
But if we go back to the days that he's talking about,
Yeah, absolutely solid game.
let's say you didn't know that god-awful cheat you just mentioned, which unlocks the game and basically allows you to go into school and say, I've finished Sonic.
Spoilers for the cheat?
No. Let's let them discover it themselves. Or enjoy the game the way it was meant to be enjoyed. But Sonic, I just want to take a minute to just talk about Sonic's level design. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before, but I'm going to bore the listeners just for a couple of minutes. On the first Sonic...
I've had my Overwatch moments. So.
You have. On the first Sonic, the first level, Green Hill Zone, it's immortalised. You play and it is breakneck from start to finish.
Yeah.
It's fast-paced,
Light
it's
speed.
loops, it's upside down. They do position, now this is one of the quirks of Sonic, they do position the little bumpers every now and then. When you're hitting your flow, unless you can clear it,
Knocks
you're
you
going to
back.
get stopped and it knocks you
Yeah.
back and kills your momentum. That's great, and the concept plays out really well. And then you get to the second level, where it's a very traditional, pixel perfect. A lot of kids absolutely ram through that first level, excited, eyes on stalks, adrenaline pumping, it's coming in faster than they can process. Then they get to the second level, which has got lava in it, and descends downwards.
I believe it's
very
Marble Zone,
slowly,
isn't it?
Little bits at
Yeah.
a time. And all of a sudden you've gone from being able to clear a segment easily because you're doing them 120 miles an hour, you're now walking at normal human pace and dodging lava bits.
Yeah, it's a very much more platformer level, isn't it?
Yes.
Whereas the first level is more almost like reaction based.
Yeah,
like
a Sonic level that we've come to know.
Exactly.
I think what happened there was the first level can be finished in like a minute.
And they're like, slow it down.
There's not that many, much like a read-through of our script. I've got to slow you down, remind you that this is the last of the petty cash and we have to chew our food. The Sonic level gives you something quick and then has to slow you down to make the game last. That's one of those things we must remember about old games. They didn't make them long, they just made them really hard.
Very true. Great music in... I mean, they're etched in memory, aren't they?
For me,
Green Hill Zone.
Yeah, and Chemical
Marble
Zone.
Zone
On 2. Is
Labyrinth Zone.
Oh, just unbelievable.
Chemical Plant, yeah.
Chemical Plant.
So, moving back to the history, it was here at this point. If you could be here at the time, you'd think Sega could do no wrong. But let's flash forward to November 21st, 1992. This is Sonic Tuesday, and it's set to be one of the biggest days in gaming to this point.
I remember the hype for this, Tom. There was like signs, there was billboards, it was on all the morning TV. Bad Influence to the section about Sonic Tuesday. If you don't know, that's a UK children's gaming magazine on TV. Games Master had like people running through the game and doing competitions and bits and bobs. Sonic Tuesday was huge.
Yeah.
In gaming, like no one had shifted games like this was shifting games at the time, especially here in the UK. It was craziness. And we'll go on to say, shifting 6 million copies years to date and being the best seller in the UK charts for 2 months. That's what I'm saying to you, Tom. People don't realise that the UK was on fire with Sonic stuff at the time and Sega was riding high. It was also very well received critically, and after the original Sonic game, is still their best-selling Sonic game. Now that surprised me, Tom, because I actually thought 2 would have knocked 1 into a cocked hat, but seemingly 1's kept the hat. It's not keen on sharing it.
I'm very surprised by that stat as well, really.
And when I read through, that was all copies to date. So I'm guessing Xbox downloads and PlayStation downloads of the original games and iOS downloads of the original games.
Yeah. It's available on everything now.
It doesn't sound that big a number in that retrospect. So I'm probably pouring a little bit of cold water onto it. But either which way, Sonic 2 still hasn't been the best-selling Sonic game, which is a shame because it is the best Sonic game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It narrowly missed out on my top 10 games of all time. replaced by Streets of Rage 2, which we'll discuss later in the show.
And if you want to catch up on the adrenaline-fueled ride that is our top 10 games, episode 1.
Bloody Palace is open.
Check it out.
Yeah.
And Tom, while we're checking things out, someone else new that's checked us out.
New listener.
8-Bit Overhaul. Now, they're on Instagram. Tom, what have they got to say?
He says, my favourite memory of the Genesis/Mega Drive is getting the system for Christmas one year. I got a Model 2 with Sonic 2 as the pack in the game. I rented a copy of Aladdin for days. I'm so nostalgic for the audio of the system, and I will always carry fond memories of playing Toe John and Earl with my twin brother.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah,
we like those memories.
We do. We're a PG podcast. We like stuff like that.
Now, we talk about Sega pushing hard in the UK, and it really was. It felt... I wish I could take you back with me, guys, because we're back in this moment, but we can't bring you back physically to this moment. But if you could, Sega would feel like an absolute juggernaut. Edgy TV ads starring Barry from EastEnders wiring some slick-looking dude from Soldier into a gaming chair while strobes flashed and gameplay filled the screens. It was all welcome to the next level, blast processing, and Sega does what Nintendo don't. Here in the playground, Sega was the bigger boys console.
Yeah. Talking of bigger boys, new listener, Dubai Jim remembers duping a rich kid into swapping his Mega Drive for a Game Gear. Really, I think I got the better deal, he says. Well, you ain't kidding there, son.
I tell you what, he was the real bigger boy of that playground.
Well, clearly done well. He's up in Dubai now, living it up off the that deal breaker back in the day, swapping the Mega Drive for the Game Gear.
You've had both of those, Tom.
Yeah,
as
so
a child.
I
Which
think
was your favourite one?
this is probably a good time to reflect on how I got a Mega Drive and the a little bit of sort of personal experience of
before we wade in,
of both
before
of those.
we pull on our nostalgia glasses and follow Tom down the rose-tinted lane that is the Mega Drive memories. As a kid, get off the fence, Tom, just for once.
Right.
Which was your favourite machine? Because you had both as a child. Game Gear or Mega Drive?
Mega Drive.
You heard it here. You wanted consumer news. You finally got it. He doesn't know what headset he uses. He doesn't really know what game he likes.
Corsairs. I did the research. Fact. Corsairs gaming headset.
Then, according to Tom last week, they're not a bad gaming headset. So if you want to pick one up, there's a recommend from the big man in gaming. So, Tom, now we've cleared up the whole which one does a kid like more, hit me up with your memories.
Yeah, so I got the Game Gear and just spent most of Christmas...
No, Mega Drive.
Yeah, sorry, just leading into it.
Oh, okay. Wow.
A little bit of background.
Okay.
Yeah, got the Game Gear, got it one Christmas.
Foreshadowing.
Played it constantly with the AC adapter plugged in because the battery life is terrible, as we all know.
Yeah.
But then I remember going around a friend's house and seeing this Mega Drive and the home console and seeing Sonic and the difference from seeing it on the Game Gear to on the big screen.
Yeah.
And obviously the game is slightly different as well. Well,
it is,
very different, really.
It actually first launched on Master System.
Yes.
By
I
some
heard
strange
that.
quirk
Yeah.
with Sonic.
Seeing that at a friend's house and then following Christmas asking for one, and Santa or Father Christmas did deliver and delivered it with...
A.K.A. St. Nicholas. A.K.A. Santa.
And he delivered it with Sonic the Hedgehog and Golden Axe.
Interesting
I
combination.
actually, like probably trying to impress the bigger boys at school, ditched Sonic because it was not grown up
Classic
enough.
Tom.
And wheeled out Golden Axe and choosing the dwarf character as I usually do.
Oh, God.
And trying to battle my way through that with my brother and failing miserably.
What other gaming memories do you have from those times?
So following on from that, a few Christmases down the line, because they were expensive games. So me and my brother used to rent quite a few.
Yeah.
And then Christmas would come round. I remember getting Earthworm Jim. That was a big game I was hyped for one year. And I didn't struggle with it as much as going back to another memory of getting the Lion King and saying, I want to take this back on Boxing Day because it was just solid.
We've played that recently, and
Yeah,
and
we've
Lion
tried
King
to. We
is
still
hard,
struggle.
isn't it?
Yeah, really solid game. I mean, the film was everywhere at the time, so I was all into that and wanting to get the game, and then just kind of thinking...
I might be trying to make excuses for my elder gaming ability.
Yeah.
But I do think that some of the collision detection in Lion King was off.
Yeah.
It was brutal, wasn't it?
The second level is what pushed me over the edge as a child, of like trying to line up those giraffe flicks onto the monkeys to grab you. And
that's the worst bit.
We got to it again, didn't we? We're
Yeah.
like, this is harder than a lot of modern day games. So yeah, that's I've got a few other memories, but they're to do with some of our choices for the games coming up.
As we
so
mentioned,
we'll move on.
all the playground talk and Tom's childhood memories, let's talk about blast processing. We've mentioned it, but it's time to point out that it was once labelled as marketing waffle, and really still could be claimed to be. But the Mega Drive had a way of blasting data at its chipset to go beyond its normal capabilities and push a really high-resolution static... It's not moving here, so just calm down. Colour image onto the screen. Now, as you can imagine now, looking back through the lens of how that particular ability helped the Mega Drive in any way compete with the SNES, it just wasn't, was it?
No.
Unless you wanted to show a really clear static image, which most gamers don't really care about.
Yeah.
This feature was dead. But it sounded cool, Tom. And it allowed playground domination with just 2 words.
Yeah.
I've got 2 words for you. Blast. Process, as they would say. Our cousins would say.
Yeah.
Now, you've mentioned Lion King, and how can we forget the immortal tie-ins with Disney, the Mickey games, Aladdin, Lion King, Pinocchio, and these games also saw the rise of David Perry and Shiny Entertainment, who were behind the Disney games, and their breakout star of their own, Earthworm Jim. Now, Tom... If you want a 90s hero, Earthworm Jim is that man, isn't he?
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously I've mentioned I got that one Christmas, and he's just really great character design, isn't it? It's colourful, it pops off the screen, and just really weird, bizarre.
Really great character design. Really very difficult gameplay.
Do you think? See, as I said, I found that easier than, like, the platformers like your Aladdin and Lion King and...
Oh, how far have you got on that without a save?
On Earthworm?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Past the first level?
I'd say halfway.
I flipped the cow in here, George, I know I did.
I remember the bits on these like sort of space bike thing and that sort of that tunnel effect of
so
trying to...
all that platforming, if you didn't finish that, if you all of a sudden, bam, here's a new way of playing this game.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't finish this, it's game over. You've gone from being pixel
the stakes were high back then, weren't they?
To into the screen driving. It very, very, very harsh, but
we've got a new name to the show on the subject of Earthworm Jim.
Oh, okay.
Geek Play Record. Is he on Insta?
He is.
Yeah, so go check him out.
Yeah.
My neighbour had a Mega Drive, and we used to hammer Toe Jam and Earthworm Jim. All I remember is play, die, play, die, play, die. Still didn't stop us, though.
No, and it didn't stop us. Also, Tom, you're looking for someone? EA pulled it in clutch for Sega 2 with the Strike Series, Road Rash, the Immortal Madden Series, NHL, FIFA. And seeing their births here and looking great, all those franchises got the kick-off there. Their births were there, and that's where they became great series titles that we know today. Unfortunately for Sega, their relationship with EA, as we discussed in the Dreamcast feature, rocky as ever. EA didn't want to pay Sega for the cartridge tech, so a clever little boffin at EA went off, reverse-engineered a cartridge and a console, and that's how, listeners, they got round not paying any royalties to Sega, and why the EA carts are different to the standard Sega variety.
I always wondered that. That's really good. As always, man with the facts.
Heavily researched to bring you the latest features list.
EA, yet again, dirty villain. Like the pantomime.
You could argue, some could argue, as you say, like the pantomime villain in Sega's story.
Like the Les Dennis evil genie at the Christmas panto.
EA were the ones that were really having a way with Sega's fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Road Rash and a few of those the sporting tires, and I always wondered why they had like a little yellow. I don't know, it was just Road Rash.
Yeah,
I seem to remember like a
it was
little
yellow inset that said ECA on it, the old logo.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, us being kids, I thought it was a switch or something.
Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
you could interact
Why
with
won't
it.
this push in?
You got it.
But do you want to take this next loyal listener?
Yes, it's here the likes of Podgy Podge, a loyal listener, comes in with Castles of Illusions, many memories of that game. Road to Thinner Me, lists Road Rash is his favourite, but cites that when EA were good. And the Immortal Radabash Gaming loves Beyond Oasis. That's a great RPG. And another name, favourite of the show, Sharaban lists Thunder Force 3 for its great shmup action.
Very good.
Tom, seems like a great place to dust off the cryogen box that we keep odders in.
Oh, yeah.
Defrost him, Tom. He's going to come out with a little bit of carbonite freezing blindness.
He's going to be angry.
Help him through it. What's he got to say?
Odders UK goes on to say, so many memories for the first time I played one was at my mate Steve's house, and we played Golden Axe. The hype and build up for Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition. Up until then, it had been a SNES exclusive. Saved up my Christmas and birthday money and pre-ordered it with a 6-button controller with a coupon I claimed from Mean Machines magazine.
Now, that was the go-to magazine for the Sega owner back in the day. I used to look through it. The smaller boy at the newsagent flicked through, looking at all the games that he couldn't have.
He also goes on to say Splatterhouse terrified him, and Final Fight on Mega CD was a whisker away from Arcade Perfect.
So when Sega finally did get Final Fight, it came on the Mega CD, Tom, and it was awesome. So the thing is, we've spent quite a lot of the time there talking about how well it was going. But I'm sure the listeners are wondering, how did it all go wrong, Tom?
Well, lo and behold, Sega, being the crazy tech-pushing gurus, didn't know when to stop. Well, we've seen that before,
haven't we?
And no sooner had they prototyped an idea, it was seemingly marketable. Menacer light guns, a 3D interactive fighting pad that sensed player movement, the Sega Activator.
We could do one of those now for VR.
Right, yeah.
You kind of like, let's not imagine.
I'm aware of the Menacer, so do you know much about this fighting pad?
Let's just take a little turn down Self-Indulgent Street, Tom. The Menacer is a light gun, for our listeners that don't know.
It was a bit like a bazooka, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It came in quite an obnoxious form on the Megadrive.
Yeah.
It came with like different eye sockets.
Similar to the SNES Super Scope, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely that. And had, like the Immortal Super Scope, the Menacer probably ended up having 2 games, much like the Super Scope. And the 3D interactive fighting pad, it was basically a circle that you assembled around yourself on the floor.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to wow you here. At the time, there was a lot of wowing going on, how this 3D environment sensed your every move.
Yeah.
I think it was basically about 4 TV remotes nailed together that put a line of infrared up into the air.
Yeah.
And as you broke that line, that was that was signified to the console you were pressing a button.
Oh.
So you had
very high tech.
the idea. It's very much like the Emperor's New Clothes, that controller, isn't it? You can probably get someone in looking really cool, making it work on a tech demo. But when little Tommy gets it home,
But it ends up Miyamoto Wii Music demo.
or worse, or worse. I don't think you could control anything with this. The Power Glove, Tom, looks like a Pro controller compared to the Sega Activator, unfortunately. A good idea, but much like most of Sega's ideas, 50 years ahead of the time.
Yeah. Another one. What's that one there?
What, the Mega CD?
Yeah, that's...
Well, a cool add-on that brought the CD medium into the home for an affordable price. Itself not only playing CDs, but bringing in new chipsets and Sega's answer to Mode 7, which was very underutilised, and if the listeners want to see it in action, it's probably best observed and easily accessed through the driving levels of the Mega CD variant of Batman Returns.
Now, I'm pleased you mentioned that, because that's what caught my eye to the Mega CD. I remember getting a games magazine. It came with a VHS tape of like just like video demos.
Wow. I would love to get my hand on one of those now.
Yeah, and it had footage of the Batman Returns driving level, and I was in awe of like this Batmobile going through the snow and
the actual,
effects. It looked fantastic.
When Sega, you see, we'll go on to talk about this, but the Mega CD came out and it had loads of tech in it, and it had this Mode 7 beta that they could have used in every single game to rotate sprites and really usher in a new wave of these really cool looking CD games.
Like Star Fox-esque style.
They could have embarrassed that.
Yeah.
They could have made that look terrible. But instead, Tom, the add-on was now in the hands of the FMV Brigade. And yes, the games look great in TV adverts and magazines. But behind the scenes, Tom, they've played very poorly. Especially when we go back and play them retrospectively as a modern gamer. Now, it's with these FMV games, we talk of Night Trap, we talk of Sewer Shark, we talk of Road Avenger, I believe, the anime one. Sega was pushing the boundaries and caught the attention of the authorities in America with this title, Night Trap. Now, this managed to anger parents who found out the game had scantily clad teenage girls that could be observed voyeur style by the player through cameras left around the house. This did nothing but bolster the sales.
As it usually does.
Yeah, once again, make the Mega Drive the bigger boy console. One thing I've always had a little bit of an issue with America and its take on games, and we've seen it with Grand Theft Auto and Hot Coffee and all that sort of stuff. It seems in America, Tom, you can go on a killing spree in a game and that's absolutely fine. Someone show a little bit of nipple, Tom, everyone loses their mind.
Yeah.
One of those is far less dangerous than the other.
Absolutely, yeah.
But violence in the games is fine. Little bit of a scantily clad teenager and the world goes crazy. Yeah. I find that I've always found that sort of hypocrisy very strange.
Yeah, it's a strange world we live in, isn't it?
Put a scantily clad lady in a game, 18 certificate. Have you running rampage with guns? That's fine. It's PG.
And remember, this is back in the day where we didn't really have very clear certifications.
I actually think that was the first game to usher in a certification.
Oh, really?
Game. Yeah, it got an 18.
Facts.
I think it got an R rated in America.
But here began the fade for the Mega Drive. With the release of the 32X, the system was on life support and it looked like it too.
It sure looked like it.
Bolted to its CD drive with the 32X grafted in on top, all needing separate power supplies. The thing looked ridiculous.
It did.
Have you seen the Mega Drive Mini like little add-ons they've made for this?
I have. They're non-functional.
Yeah, they're
not. Stress that they're non-functional plugins.
Just to make it look like
it's
something that was cobbled together on a Friday afternoon in the Sega factory.
I mean, it's a shame that we never. I know there were revisions down, like the I can't remember, was it the Mega CD where they I can't remember the name of it now, listeners. I will look to get back to you that next episode. But there was an iteration where they slimmed it all down into a little carry case one. Almost like a Walkman style. So it had the CD and it had a bit on the back.
Yeah.
Some of the fans are going to be screaming at me now, and it's one of those moments where my lizard brain tries to think of the answer and now it can't, so it's gone.
I think you provided them with a lot of facts this week, so they'll forgive you.
We'll let them off that one time.
The 32X didn't really have very many games, but as we mentioned before on the show, Star Wars Arcade is a notable highlight on there, something to check out if you want to delve onto the 32X.
Yeah, and that being said, the 32X initially sold well, but its price soon got slashed as demand decreased and missteps from the management about where Sega's future laid, and it certainly wasn't 32X flavoured nor Mega Drive. Saw the 32X sort of struggle on a bit there, Tom, with a smattering of not very good games. Good friend of the show chimed in. Tom, seemingly you can pronounce his name, I can't. Remind me one more time, like Red Dragon.
It's that guy again, Bobba Lobber.
Bobba Lobber. Got it in one, Tom did.
Nailed it. I never had a Mega Drive first time around. I was a Nintendo kid. Always loved playing on the Mega Drive at a friend's house. Sonic was the go-to game for me, just like Mario was whenever they came to my house. Recently picked one up, spur of the moment, and he's slowly building his games collection that he wished he had when he was a kid.
Not only does Bobba Lobber hail from a place where I used to hail from, it also sounds like we're brothers from another mother, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Mumsy got herself busy back in the day while we were in childcare.
So there it is then, a real success. A 16-bit machine that was cool to own, did well with its final number coming in at 29 million units sold.
Now, Tom, taken in isolation, you think, well, they did well.
Yeah, the story on paper looks ridiculous, with Nintendo's 49 million SNES consoles sold.
Ouch, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. You know,
exactly.
when you look at 29 million, you think, well, they've done really well for themselves in that era of gaming. But 49 million SNESes.
And that's there. It's not sort of like now where we've got, obviously, you've got Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, PC platform, mobile gaming. This is like, I know there were other things available, but the two big home consoles, that's it. So they really did lose that battle, didn't they?
Yeah, but it's like we've said in the earlier in the episode, it was those that were living it at the time that didn't see Nintendo running away with it. Sega were really holding and keeping them honest. It was a real good fight that could have gone either way. And let's face it, Tom, everyone loves an underdog.
They do.
Especially here in the UK, which kind of strangely, this is where it did really well.
Yeah, I think it does go to show it's healthy to have competition. I mean, they're good numbers for both consoles, and like I say, it was a very fierce battle on the playground, wasn't it?
It was.
As to which was best.
And those numbers, I'm going to say it again, you would have thought it would be like 49 million, 48 million, 29 million, 28 million. But
yeah.
They almost went and doubled the number
I know.
that Sega did.
Yeah.
And they had a stranglehold. The Mega Drive came out and just dominated the NES area, and all the bigger boys got on that. Mm-hmm. But by the time the SNES came out, the Mega Drive was looking old hat again. And
yeah.
It was almost like the Mega Drive Pro, the SNES, when it came out, unfortunately. Or
it
the
certainly
Mega
was.
Drive 1X.
Hang on though, listeners. The Mega Drive is still alive and kicking with a great retro scene, and as mentioned in the news, it's still getting new games even today. Forever part of the 90s and forever the highlight of Sega's hardware, this year especially as we get set for the release of the new Mega Drive Mini, what's looking finally like a great system for the gamers of today with a great library, hopefully paying tribute to the great console. Much better than the clones and rehashes we've up until now. We think the Mega Drive has earned that.
Oh, Tom, we do. And we've reached that point again where if you're at a cocktail party and the guy there says he loves Mega Drive, oh really? Well, let's give you our top 5 and some honourable mentions. Tom, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so number 1, Streets of Rage 2. We've talked about this again if you want to listen to our top 10 games, personal each.
Just summarise.
But we both chose Streets of Rage 2, didn't we?
You're a kung fu fighting cop or cops.
Yeah.
You go through cleaning up the town against Mr. Big, I believe. So
yeah,
if you want a storyline there.
Mr. X.
Mr. X.
Mr. X. Some great boss character designs there. It was exciting just progressing through the level to see what the next bad guy would look like.
Yes.
There was one that looked like the Ultimate Warrior, where you go down a lift and then you're in this sort of cage fighting arena.
And they also managed to squeeze in, I think we've talked about this before, but the Aliens reference to put you on like a pirate ride.
Yeah. And then you end up with like a sort of Blanca/Wolverine-esque creature with, I don't know whether he's a creature or a man dressed up, but he's got like claws and he spins in a sort of Blanca attack roll. There's just to me that is the number 1 game on Mega Drive.
Oh,
bold. I've owned several copies of it,
well,
but we best move on before I get too carried away.
Great game to own on there.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which we discussed.
I mean, we don't need to go into that. If you haven't played that game, if you're going to play it anywhere, play it on the original hardware. Come back to the Mega Drive. I'm going to throw one in there, Tom. Desert Strike.
Yeah, so we haven't mentioned this much.
Isometric game based around the Gulf War. Very 90s, very cool, the first Gulf War.
Again, this takes me back to the memory of seeing the Mega Drive for the first time. My mate showed me Sonic and then he put on Desert Strike. His dad was actually in the RAF, so he was a tornado pilot as well. Yeah. So it was like we were like playing his dad's missions in this room and getting all excited. And then apart from me, he flew a tornado, not an Apache helicopter. Yeah. And it was very America based, Desert Strike. But it was cool. You sort of flew around the map and you had to pick up like oil drums and
that was your fuel. And you had to weapon upgrades and extras, didn't you? Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Pretty solid game though.
Yeah, another one from me, a favourite of mine, the Road Rash series.
Yeah. Great. The sort of the idea of surviving almost on this bike and the various people, and then the cops could come as well.
Well, again, there were as good games on the Super Nintendo, but there weren't anything nearly as cool as being able to sort of rip through the American countryside on a motorbike, hitting other bikers while in like a street race.
A vague thought. I'm pretty sure you had like different. There weren't many different choices of bikes, but they had sort of different stats and.
Yeah, you bought different bikes, I think, as you progressed through.
Ah, right, yeah.
And that obviously made it easier to access the higher levels. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And lastly, Tom?
Mortal Kombat 2.
Because it's Sega, because there's the blood, because it's 90s, because it's full of chewed, dude. It had to go on there, didn't it? Mortal Kombat 2. I mean, we know we're gonna in the honourable mentions. Tom, if you lead off.
Yeah, we've got Earthworm Jim.
Yeah,
which we discussed. Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah, all the Disney games.
All the Disney tie-ins.
Just any Disney game tie-in, throw it in there.
Phantasy Star 4. You ever played that one?
That's a super long game. I've got the privilege of owning it.
Yeah,
I got given it by a good friend actually, who was cleaning out their old collection.
Golden Axe, another sort of take on the Streets of Rage sort of scrolling co-op beat 'em up.
The birth of the Souls games, Tom. Revenge of Shinobi.
Yeah,
super difficult.
Well, leading on from that, even harder.
Really?
TMNT Hyperstone Heist.
It's a tough
Is that
game.
the one with the surfing through the sewers, or am I thinking of Battletoads? I'm sure there's a mission where you're surfing.
In the first level, you're not surfing. You're walking through sewers. Then you're walking through a street. Then you go into like a house on a hill from memory, where you fight a guy. Don't you fight the bad guy out of the second in command in the Ninja Turtles movie? What's that guy? Chinese guy with a moustache. He's like he's like the third boss or something crazy.
Is he? Is he in that?
Yeah, he's in it.
Oh, I really want to remember his name now, because Casey Jones like wrecks him with a golf club.
Much like you can't remember his name, I couldn't remember the little portable Megadrive.
There you go.
Such is life. And with that, Tom, I want to launch in with my particular highlight on the Megadrive. It's also on the SNES, but on there it's called Zombies Ate My Neighbours. On the Megadrive it's just called Zombies.
Yeah, I played this recently. We had sort of last year, we had a bit of a retro Megadrive evening, and you wheeled that out. I was pretty impressed with that, having never played it.
Good play. Good co-op, good graphics.
Yeah, definitely deserves the honourable mention.
Got a nice graphical style.
Street Fighter 2.
A Street Fighter man.
I am. Massive fan of Street Fighter. I owned it on the Mega Drive. I remember that cool box art with Ryu, and then M. Bison with his sort of psycho power blue imagery behind him. And then NBA Jam. Good sporting title on there.
That is got to be in my top 3 games on the console.
Yeah.
I'm a big lover of NBA Jam.
Yeah.
I just think that everything about it is cool. That I mean, again, it's very 90s, so it's very much the game to have on there. But there you go. Such is life. So you've got some games. You've grabbed the console. What else? You've obviously got to grab a couple of controllers. Now, we'd recommend you look out or hold out for the 6-button variant, which means you're all good for Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and it puts to bed the whole the Mega Drive's not very good at fighting games because it's only got 3 buttons. If you want to upgrade that arcade experience, and I'd recommend this, you want to grab a couple of the official, not the unofficial, unfortunately, 6-button arcade sticks, or even the older 3-button variety for some of the older games. As always, guys, playing these today, grab yourself some controller extenders so you can relax on the couch.
Yeah, just like the Dreamcast. I mean,
we don't want to be 1 foot away from the screen in the modern world. We don't game like that anymore. And as far as hookups go, I would recommend... I've gone this route, and I recommend the full RGB SCART option. The Mega Drive can output full RGB SCART, and the picture is crystal clear. So hunt those down, and the only person I personally have bought them from and trust, because a lot of these cables, they say they're going to do something on eBay or wherever, and then when they come, the materials are poor. They don't. There's only like 3 wires connected in it, so you're only getting composite. You're not actually getting the full thing. So when you go full SCART, go with someone you trust, and the person that an official controller trusts is retrogamingcables.co.uk. They've got Mega Drive hookups, but they've got all the old console hookups. So if you want to get the Dreamcast in better visual form, if you want to get the N64 in better visual form, and any other retrospective consoles that we do, I would say look these guys
I'm
out.
sure they're sort of willing to help any questions you've got if you wanted to get those cables.
Well, on Instagram, the haunt of all the unofficial controller community. As I say every week, we're about as popular on syphilis as a dose of the pox. So retro gaming cables are going to hook you up. This is a real surefire way of giving a modern TV a really good signal from the get-go. And then if you want to go from HDMI, the full RGB signal transitions to the HDMI adapter really, really well. Well, Tom, I do believe that's put a cork in the feature, the Megadrive history.
The very fact-heavy feature this week.
Fact-heavy feature. Not the Federation Against Copyright Theft, because we're about to talk about listeners' Stingray, and we don't want the big man to get scared off.
So if you've got a phone with you at the minute, please go onto Instagram, hashtag Stingrays boot, and just have a browse with us.
Yeah, that's right. So when the big man makes a house call, Tom, you'd better be ready. These guys got in touch to show us their pickups from Stingrays boot. You can too. Just hashtag Stingrays boot on Instagram or Twitter, or email us questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. So let's have a little peek.
Do you want to kick us off?
Yes, Tom, I do. What we got here? Retro Gamer Thomas. He's running out of room quick, as he says. Little video of his game room there, Tom. He's very excited. Sonic poster, on point, good timing, like what you done, Retro Gamer Thomas. A stool. Let's pick out all the random things.
Got Millennium Falcon.
It's
old Star Wars. He's got an original Sonic poster there.
And he's got a Mario throw. My goodness gracious me, we shouldn't jest. He's got a healthy selection of Dreamcast and Saturn titles.
Look at those PS2 games. It looks like CEX.
Looks like he's got more than CEX.
He probably has, yeah.
System. He's got Mega Drive. He's got 360 coming out of his ear rolls. He's got some Cube titles there. Yeah, he got a lot of games.
Moving on, he's also had a couple more PS4 pickups of Moss, the VR mouse game, and Trials Rising.
If only that pickup had also included the Star Wars blankie. I was going to say blanket, and then I changed my mind to blankie because I thought it would be for the smaller boys, and then ended up making a really cobbled together version of both of them, which was Blanklet, which I do believe is Michael Jackson's child.
Yes.
So Retro Gamer Thomas is the unknown other parent of Blanklet.
Long-time listener and poster, Ozcat.tv.
Where would the show be without Ozcat.tv?
I know, we'd have no content. A few weeks ago, Sega Select hooked me up with the unsealed Sonic 2 for the Game Gear.
Wow. An unsealed Sonic 2.
So he's grown his Game Gear collection there. He's got some other titles, including Power Rangers, Sonic Chaos, NHL All-Star.
Looks like he's got a baseball game, Tom.
He has. I thought you'd have spotted that one.
Yeah, on it like a hawk.
Yeah, the Incredible Hulk and a few others there.
I might need a baseball game for Game Gear.
Yeah?
If anyone...
You best get stocked up on those batteries.
Yes. Well, don't worry.
Little Devil _71 has picked up a Pac-Man yo-yo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sealed as well. I mean, that's minty fresh, isn't it? That looks good.
Is.
And it's made by the company Duncan, who seem to be copying Nintendo's font there. I don't know what that's all about. Sharaban looks like he's gone down hard on a Targi for the Xbox. He's not just got one, he's got two. And he's showing us the disc and the manuals. The immortal Radabash Gaming's hooked himself up with a Dreamcast.
Look at that unofficial controller.
An unofficial controller and what looks like a stack of copies. Radbash Gaming, the reason the Dreamcast died, I'm going to say this now, you're part of the problem. Now, 8-bit overhaul. Now, his youngest son here, very excited, and I'm very excited for him. It looks like he's saved up his allowance, his pocket money as we call it in the UK, and he's been and bought a copy of Spider-Man for the PS4, and he's gone and grabbed himself a Shocker action figure. One thing I've got to say about this young man is he looks very happy with his new pickups.
He's got a great game there as well. It's going to keep him entertained for many hours to come.
8-bit overhaul with the Pong picture in the background. We need to see more of that. Looks very cool with his CRTs stacked up. Once again, 8-bit overhaul junior. It's with these younger listeners, Tom, that the show has a chance to grow.
Absolutely.
Little Devil 71
has picked up Road Blasters on the NES.
Ozcat's titles looking in doubt here.
Yeah. We've got someone else, Oobgram.
Oobgram. Oobgram. Don't ask me for pronunciation, Tom. I'm about to insult him and get it wrong.
I'm sure they'll let us know if we've got it wrong.
Motor
They've
City
got
Patrol on
that's a Matchbox game, is that right?
Probably, yeah.
I see the Matchbox logo on there.
We've heard from him in the feature, and now he's come in here with a tips book from
Mega Machines Sega,
Mean Machines.
Oh, sorry, Mean Machines. So that would be one of the classic.
Once again, were you in the feature?
I was there, in body, but not in mind. Mean Machines Sega Complete Review Guide, Volumes 2,
I've got that
M to
one.
Z.
And it is really cool. It's just a collection
I
of
do remember getting some of them,
summarised Mean Machines reviews.
Uh-huh.
Sharaban again, he's not just bought one copy of Oddworld, he's been and bought every copy of Oddworld you can
Got
imagine.
the collection. I believe there's another one of those coming out soon.
I think that Limited Run Games are doing Oddworld on the PS4 as well, Stranger's Wrath. Your favourite Oddworld game.
Of course.
Another new name to the show, Airmitch44. Whoa, he's had a
he's got
Sega
himself
score.
a Genesis collection.
Yes, he has. Zool,
Home Alone 2.
Yeah. What else has he got?
He's got that. So he's got triple score, which I believe probably over here would have been Mega Games 1.
Well, good spot. California Games, Strider. A game there called Outlander. Now, I wonder if that's the game I had on Atari ST. If anyone knows, they should let me know.
Yeah.
Game Boy Doc Matty, another young follower of the show. And well done, Game Boy Matty, because it looks like you've hooked up Game Boy Daddy with some pretty cool looking father's gifts.
It's got a Sega Saturn smartphone controller. That looks pretty cool.
Very, very cool. What looks like some sort of beer related Pac-Man thing in the background. A Pac-Man beer glass with the maze up the side of the glass. And a power-up card. Well done, Game Boy Matty, and to all fathers out there. Oh my goodness gracious me. Ozcat's all that sort of got their Steel Battalion controller out.
So he's
gonna,
got... Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one at the toilets, Tom, isn't he? You call that, let me get mine. And Ozcat...
Oh, have you seen the next one?
Well, we'll get there. Ozcat's blown down hard on a Mountain Dew Xbox. I do actually believe he won that. I think I got in a conversation with him, which is great. I mean, not only is Ozcat dripping in retro pickups week after week, he just seems to be one of the luckiest characters in the world. And thankfully, he listens to the show. So he's lucky, lucky, lucky in all ways, Tom. Now, your friend, as you can say it.
It's my boy, Bobba Lobber.
My boy, looking at you. What's he got to say for himself?
On top of a basket containing an EGX sort of lanyard there. That'd be cool if he's going there this year.
I love the way you focus in on the smallest bit of writing.
Now we need to talk about this because hopefully we're going to go, aren't we?
Oh, I was going to say,
we could maybe
Rocky's in there.
Yeah,
Rocky's in there.
Rocky does not compare to EGX Game Show, where hopefully we might actually sort of meet and greet some of these amazing Insta followers.
If I'm not grounded for being rude about EGX, maybe we'll all be there. And maybe I would love to meet every single last one of you.
Absolutely. Maybe we can get those stickers run out in time.
Maybe.
The unofficial controller bumper sticker.
Depends what budget we've got left after.
It does, yeah.
Getting the Stingrays.
We'll have to get onto the great Lord Ponsonby.
Oh yes.
He's got some Mad Catz controllers in there, which we love. He's done that on purpose, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Clamouring for the likes.
Say sorry.
I am sorry, Bobba Lobber.
And on that rather apologetic note, Little Devil comes in with Expendable on the Dreamcast. Retrovision's there. My goodness. They've managed to get Haunting Ground for the PS2, a very hard to find title. He's found it thrifting. Phew, Tom, I tell you, I don't know how they do it.
And if our ego couldn't get big enough, we've got ourselves with our Mega Drive collection.
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
Scott's Gamer Geek. They've been and bought themselves. They've been bought for Father's Day.
Lots of great Father's Day gifts this week.
PlayStation Classic. Retro Games MT. Looks like they've done well with some
Game Boy
bootleg Game Boy cartridges. Just the sort of thing we love on the show. Pokemon Pocket Monsters, that looks really legit. Got a copy of Pokemon Crystal and Jade. That looks equally as legit. Pokemon Gold looks like Tom's made it with his crayons. Now, this must be one Tom made with his crayons. So, Star Wars Obi-Wan's Adventures on the Game Boy. Driver on the Game Boy Color. I mean, if any of those are legit, well, I don't believe it. Moving
Next
on.
up.
Circus of Values. Now, I love this name. Every time I see that little logo pop up on Instagram and his name, I hear that machine from BioShock. Circus of Values.
Oh, yeah.
Tom's finally caught on. It's where he heard that before. He's gone and thrown down. He's bought the whole lot for Medieval, but he's managed to pick up Crash Bash, Spyro 1, 2, Crash Tag Team Racing, which is poignant. He picked up Crash 2, Vigilante 8. I mean, a smorgasbord of great games, just so he could get his mitts on Medieval. Cool.
Moving on, we've got Amid No Thrifts. Is that correct? Let us know if not.
Pretty good effort from you, though, considering.
Yeah. A small flea market haul for $10. Nice. He's got a PS1, 2 rather large NES cartridges, Rayman Arena, Unreal Tournament, and I can't quite make out what that last one is, but they're on the PlayStation 2.
Oh, now the reason that I asked him to send this in is scan right, Tom.
Oh,
that
wow.
is a quality looking
It's
Xbox.
like a reverse Scottish flag Xbox.
Now, this is a proper Stingrays boot pickup. It is.
Looks like it's been painted with paint from Homebase.
I think it has.
I reckon that has, yeah.
But he says it's good. It needs a clean, but it's modded. And believe it or not, they let him just take it.
Probably want to get rid of it. The fumes generating off that. Little Devil chiming in again with Blasto on the PlayStation.
He just keeps buying. Retro Gamer Island. He looks like he's managed to
That's a real cool setup, isn't it?
It
with
is
the
very
NES.
cool. And he's actually
he's got
managed...
SNES Mini down there. All the Nintendo consoles.
There's a story here, Tom.
Sorry?
There's a story here.
Sorry. You
just put your jaw on holiday.
I will.
And I'll just kick in. We've got... He was kicking around a music shop, an old guitar shop, and he found a dusty NES on the shelf, and the owner gave it to him, which is great considering how much those things are worth these days. Unfortunately, it didn't work when he plugged it in, so he swapped the 72-pin connector around, put it in his original NES, which wasn't working, and it's now working like a dream. So
well, he
happy
sounds
days.
like a good bloke to get in touch with on Insta if you got any queries for sort of trying to get old consoles going.
The jaw's back from holiday. I wish he'd took it another week. Game Boy Archive 1. He's got himself a 3DS XL, a 2DS XL, and a copy of Body Harvest for the N64. And what we got here, Sony PSP Addict, Field Commander, Superbike 09, Peter Jackson's King Kong, Thrillville Off the Rails, Avatar the Game. He's got a tolerance level very high for pain, Tom. Blue Canyon Games, that's an indie developer there, chiming in, showing us some stuff.
Yeah.
And then Ozcat, Bloodstained, and Last of Us collection that he's got there. Blue Canyon Games just showcasing off some stuff. I said they're an indie developer. I think they're actually just like a game seller. And I think that's just the full turn of the wheel, Tom, because I believe we've seen Little Devil's Dreamcast magazine before. Because I waffled on about how much I loved Blue European Dreamcast magazine.
Absolutely.
So, Tom, that's listeners Stingray. If they want to get involved and get the big man round, Tom, how would they do that?
Well, they can tag any pickups with hashtag Stingrays boot.
You should see the relief on my face, because Tom sort of wandered back into the conversation looking around blankly, and I was thinking, oh no, please no.
Not another edit.
I just thought you were going to... Well, we don't know how to do it, Tom, so it's frightful. We leave all the mistakes out there.
Yeah.
Much like we did at the top
To be
of the show.
judged.
To be judged open and fairly.
So if you've been on your phone looking at this hashtag Stingrays boot, please put that down and put your hands back on the wheel.
Okay. Well,
as we...
don't forget hashtag Stingrays boot. And, Tom, what I thought you were going to launch into, and the one that you've memorised so I've been banned from doing any more sort of satanic rites to help you remember them, Tom, before we launch into the bit that everyone likes to listen to, the real reason people rocked up, the celebrity of the show, Stingray, before we get into that section, how would the fans get in touch with us?
Again, you can reach us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com or direct messages on Twitter and Instagram. Also, please go and check out our YouTube channel, Unofficial Controller. Just type it in, Unofficial Controller Podcast, and have a look at the visual variation of
and
the
you can be
podcast.
as excited as Tom is right now. So race there, hold, waste no time, rip everything out of your way to gain access to that YouTube channel. Subscribe, watch, come for the audio, Tom, as you say.
Please leave comments as well.
Stay for the visual.
Absolutely.
Now, this week, Tom, things are back to normal. Stingray's been out. He's been down the local market about midnight, spoken to Big Jeff. Big Jeff's rolled back the carpet in the bottom of the van and he's shown Stingray his wares. This was a discreet yet quick pickup of some of the biggest gaming releases, as well as all the latest VHSs we didn't even know we didn't need to see.
Absolutely.
It's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot. What's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battle for Endor this week? These are the new release highlights for this week, June 10th to June 16th, 2019. Listeners, these are out digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but could be region dependent. Now, Tom, he's just passing the pub at the bottom of the street. I hear a wheel screech. That's not going to make its way into the audio for this, because the audio we've got for Stingray is already pre-recorded and it doesn't have any wheel spin in it. Use your imagination. And Tom, he tears up the drive. Literally, all those pre-positioned stones that Lord Pontypridd had gone out there and arranged to look like a gravel drive have now been thrown up in the air like confetti. And as they rain down, sound effect again, because we are the cheapest average podcast in the market, we feel safe to go out. The springs have finished squeaking, Tom, and the boot is popped. He sits there, looking at us, almost double daring us to buy some of his wares. You know the rules?
Only cash.
Only cash. 40 degrees, 60 degrees, approach at degrees, with a stick, no skin on skin. You know the routine, Tom. If you get bitten, it's on you. Yeah. You've approached him first. What's in there?
So, first up, we've got another site which is available on PC, PS4 and Xbox. It's out June 18th. So a little bit about the game. A teenager who has lost her sight and a mysterious cat team up in a surreal fantasy adventure into the unexpected, weaving a tale that brings together some of the world's greatest minds. Monet, Tesla, Edison and other historical cultural icons.
You know, he didn't miss a beat with that, listeners, did he?
Oh, yes.
And
that is nestled between a copy of the 1970s sitcom Rising Damp starring Richard Beckinsale. A great one for the family.
He's done his own work for once, listeners.
Some of the humour is borderline racist, but it doesn't matter. Because...
Why did you bring that into it?
Yeah.
We're not that sort of show. Just keep it light.
Okay.
Oh,
light.
God. You'll mention the B word, like Brexit. You'll inundate it. One way or the other, we take once a week one title home, and we call it our Mummy. That's right. Mummy lets us pick one title, and we refer to that title as
She
the
still
Mummy.
controls the cash.
She does. Now, my Mummy is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, released on PC, PS4, Xbox, June 18th. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is an exploration-focused side-scroller action RPG by Koji Igarashi. Play as Miriam, an orphan scarred by an alchemist curse that slowly crystallizes her body. Battle through a demon-infested castle and defeat its master to save yourself and all of humanity. Tom, when you're not doing your celebrity read-throughs, I've maybe got good enough to reading out bigger boy words now that I could do that.
I'll see what I can do. I'll put in a word.
Not a chance, is there? What's next?
We've got Citizens of Space on PC, PS4, Xbox and Switch out also June 18th. brief roundup. The Earth is missing, and it's up to you to find the pieces and solve the mystery behind the disappearances. Recruit citizens, navigate the cosmos, and battle charismatic foes in Citizens of Space.
Next up.
Do you want to take this one?
I will. Lovely Planet 2 on PC, June 18th. A very cute first-person shooter game. A sequel to the most adorable and critically acclaimed FPS gun ballet. Ballet? That would be ballet.
Ballet.
I see why you politely declined my read-through of 2014. Lovely Planet, the sequel to Lovely Planet, I would imagine. Tom?
Next up, we've got a PSVR game.
Ooh, put on the headset.
Yeah. Out June 18th. They're called Mini Mech Mayhem. Mini Mech Mayhem is a deeply funny tabletop VR battle game for up to 4 players online. Team up with your little mech buddy to plan a flawless strategy, then marvel at just how wrong you were. Not to worry, play some power cards to get your team back on track, or dare to trust in your instincts and crafty skills and pull off a stunning win. Have you looked at that at all with having the VR headset?
I'm actually looking at this, a VHS copy of Dragonheart, where Sean Connery voices the dragon, and I believe it's Dennis Quaid.
I think it is, yeah.
He's the swords. I think we want that. I think, actually, do you know what?
You want to take that?
Instead of Bloodstained...
Are we going to rent that?
Yeah.
Have we got the money for that?
Both? Maybe
we've got that and Rising Damp, so it's... Although Rising Damp's for...
that's the Mummy and Lord Ponsonbury.
Yeah, that's for them, isn't it? Yeah.
Put it down. What we'll do is, because Mummy's only given us a certain amount of money...
Yeah.
Put it in the Never Never book of Stingrays. I'm not going to go in there, because I know what happened to Jeff from
who never paid up.
Yeah, he,
disappeared.
I'm pretty sure Stingray urinated on his milk bowls. I don't want that here.
Okay.
And you're better with money than me, so it's better that you put your name in Stingray's book.
That sounds like trickery, but okay, I will do that.
So we can have Rising Damp, we can have Dragonheart, we can have Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
And then my choice, which will be coming up.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
A little bit of tension as we build to the releases.
Next up, we've got another PSVR title out June 18th, Vacation Simulator. Welcome to Vacation Simulator, a rough approximation of vacation inspired by real human not jobbing. Brought to you by the same robots behind the Job Simulator. Relocate your bandwidth and get ready to splash. S'more, snowball, and selfie your way to optimal relaxation.
Stand back, Tom, because as a regular Nintendo expert, I want this fine-looking mess of the game. Boxing Champs out June 20th. Have a look yourself a look. I might be doing it an injustice, but seeing as I'm a big Nintendo fan, I couldn't help myself. More than just a boxing game, Boxing Champs mixes fast and fun top-down arcade graphics and animations and mixes it with simulated gameplay to give the real feel of boxing. Feel every punch with full punch control using the right stick, start swinging away and challenging friends in multiplayer, or make history by moving up the ranks in career mode to become the undisputed world champion. Snap the jab from outside and throw combinations, or get inside and brawl away with hooks and uppercuts. Capture the spirit of boxing and knock it out in the ring. Tom, from what I've seen, I might be harsh.
Top-down view is very strange, isn't it, on that?
That game needs knocking clean out.
Does it need a Red Dragon Rias punch?
Sensei Red Dragon Rias from the local village hall, on his way back up here, after giving lessons to Devon Zilla, needs to Red Dragon punch. What we'll tell Stingray that we're going to rent this, and then Red Dragon Rias can come here and Red Dragon punch into
the lair, into the pit,
into the lair pit. Yeah, and that needs a little bit of explanation, because if they're new, they've got no idea what that is. So I buried Lair in a pit. The game Lair for PS3, I buried it in a pit 6 foot deep because it was. And
we do leave a thin layer of soil over the top. So there's going to be more games going in there.
There's more. I think unfairly, I've unfairly judged. I've not played this game.
No, it's probably some small indie company. It's their make or break game, and you've just destroyed them.
If it is, right, I'm sorry. And I at least read it out. Yeah. We didn't have to bring it in here.
We didn't, no. There's no such thing as bad press.
There's not. Even from me.
Moving on. Catan on the Switch, June 20th. Catan. Trade, build, settle on Nintendo Switch. Discover or rediscover all the fun of the strategic and social gameplay of the million-seller board game.
Me and Finchy used to play this.
Yeah?
Adam Finch. If he's out there, you get in touch.
The island of Catan is an uninhibited land rich in resources.
No, Tom, it's not uninhibited, because that's something very different. I would say to you it's uninhabited.
Uninhabited land rich in resources for you to
It's
settle.
not lacking inhibitions. It's lacking habitable places to live.
Unfortunately, your opponents have the same plans, though. Build settlements, roads and cities strategically to gain supremacy on Catan. Some resources you have in abundance. Other resources are scarce. Trade resources wisely and skillfully to stack the odds in your favour and become the greatest settler of Catan. You want that read through of the Nescafe advert, really, don't you?
I do.
Stitching me up with this.
I'm working on it. Muse Dash, PC Switch, June 20th. Play as the characteristic heroines dash through fairy tale-like stages, dancing to the rhythm and beats. Kick those silly cute enemies into outer space.
My Friend Pedro, PC and Switch, June 20th. My Friend Pedro is a violent ballet. See that word?
Again.
About friendship, imagination, and one man's struggle to obliterate anyone in his path and the behest of a sentient banana.
Now, you need to... Tom, I'm putting my hand in the air, because this is a podcast, I'm telling people I'm putting my hand in the air.
Right.
Much like a school kid at school, my hand's in the air.
Up.
I want to interrupt. This game looks ace. It looks like a cross between Mad Max...
Right.
And I don't know what. Basically, it looks like you're a normal guy, and this banana appears, almost a representation of your insane mind.
Right.
And it tells you to sort of go out doing all this shooting. The banana is called Pedro. It's his friend. Hence the name. It's an intriguing title. It's a side-scrolling Mad Max Payne style game.
Okay.
I think you need to, at the very least...
I might have a little look at that.
Get your bloodhound nose on the ground and go sniff it out on the green screen.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Scrap Rush on PC and Switch, June 20th. Robots compete by gathering junk in this crazy battle. The rules are simple. Use blocks and crush your foes, and that can be played with up to 4 players.
Oh.
What we got
Tech
next?
Core on PC, June 20th. Tech Core is a game where you try to become the biggest tech company in the world. Your goal is to become the next big shot in the tech industry. This game also takes place through history, starting in the early 90s and going to present time. Basically, Tom, this is a cool game. You get to be a tech company, so you can be like a Nintendo, an Apple, or Microsoft, or whatever.
Sega.
And you develop Sega, Megadrive, and you develop bits of tech as you go through. Have you played Video Game Story on an iOS device?
No.
It's like that, but more in the tech. So very cool game. PC gamers, you say there's nothing here for you. You've waited 1 hour... 43 minutes to hear about Tech Core. Get it bought.
Absolutely.
Captain Cat on the Switch, June 21st. Captain Cat travels the 7 seas in his boat, using his anchor as a hook to fish for the delights and treasures hiding at the bottom of the sea. But navigating the depths of unknown waters is never easy. There are many mysterious dangers to face along the way. Can Captain Cat overcome them to catch enough fish to satisfy his hunger? Interesting.
Very strange one, that.
What you got?
So this is my mummy. I'm going to pick this out.
Mummy.
We've got a bit of the cash readies for this. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, out on PS4, Xbox and Switch. It's out on June 21st.
Cool.
Crash is back in the driver's seat. Get ready to go full throttle with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. It's the authentic CTR experience, just a whole lot more. Now fully remastered and revved up to the max. So it's the same team who have done the Crash Bandicoot remake.
Awesome, yes.
So you know it's going to be good. Start your engines with the original game modes, characters, tracks, power-ups and weapons and controls. Power Slide to Glory and additional karts and tracks from beyond the original game. You can also race online with friends and crash the competition with online leaderboards. With Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel, the stakes are high and the competition is fierce. It's the CTR you love, now kicked into the highest gear.
Very nice.
So,
now,
sorry, no, you take this one.
No, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do.
No, it doesn't matter. I will get to that. You take the last release.
Well, in a strange alternate world somewhere, I'm sure there's a place where Tom's recently been crowned king of the PC computing club at school. But now, I'm the king of the PC computing club at school, and I pick Triton Survival on the PC, June 21st. Triton Survival is a galactic survival game with an intense action focused on surviving, crafting, and gathering resources, building bases and beat attacks of enemy hordes from the Neptune planetary system. And with that, Tom, we shut the boot and we say
He's on his
sayonara,
way.
Stingray. He's not on his way, or if he is, he's doing it in stealth mode. I don't
Okay.
hear him. We've got a budget for in.
Maybe he's got he's
for
hybrid the Nissan Bluebird, so he's just on the electric now.
Maybe he has. And maybe,
Who knows?
Tom, I think Stingray, as a fictional character, is probably going to get bored and walk off this show before we finish. And before we finish, Tom, what are you going to be playing?
So I am going to be playing, hopefully, Crash Team Racing.
I see what you were building up to now.
Yes. So next week, we're hopefully going to just insert a little bit into the format. It's not going to be every week, but when we pick up a new title that we feel is something that we can say is either something you need to buy, rent, or leave.
And we're going to slip that into the what you've been playing section.
Yeah, we're going to...
Where
Yeah,
it fits nicely.
yeah. We're going to just run down a little review of that. Nothing major. Just highlighting some of the best points of that. So that's what I'm going to be playing. How
What am I
about
going to
you?
be playing? Probably...
More Days Gone?
Yeah, going to try and get Days Gone finished.
How are you nearly finished Blood and Truth?
I haven't touched that since we
Yeah.
last spoke about it, so I've got that to finish.
I was just asking because a friend wants to get it, and I was just asking for a recommendation. If you could give
Based on what I've played already, I can definitely recommend that
cool,
game.
that's good enough for me.
Definitely recommend that game. If they've got a PSVR headset and they don't have Blood and Truth, it's like being a human without having oxygen.
Wow,
That's how essential a pickup that is.
big facts.
Big fact. And Tom, with that big fact, the only other big fact I can wheel out is the fact it's the end of the show. And that's all we've got time for this week, listeners. As always, thank you for your time. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming. Remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Tom.
Sayonara.